Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Craig's College Football Corner. Today is kind of a little bit of a special edition. Like I said, I wanted to have this be a little bit more consistent of a schedule. And Wednesdays or Thursdays were going to be the day that I wanted to kind of highlight this podcast for. But as anybody that is a college football fan knows, the bowl selection, bowl season matchups came out just recently. And I think it's appropriate to give that some credence, give that some recognition, and look forward to the month of December and early January and see how things are gonna kind of line up. There are so many bowl games nowadays, and this is another topic of contention, maybe for another time, maybe better reserved for an off-season discussion at some point. How many bowl games there are, the qualifications to become bowl eligible. I mean, it's generally at the 6-win mark nowadays. But you're getting these early December 6-6 matchups of teams that are just, I mean, even somebody that is as passionate about college football as I am, it is sometimes can be a little overwhelming, a little daunting to try and get into watching these teams that barely qualified for these games. No disrespect to those programs. Congratulations on a 500 season, but I really don't. I mean, I'll watch pretty much every game, but I really don't start getting a real passion for it until the closer it gets to like Christmas time. But with that, we'll look at a few of them. We're not going to look at every game, every matchup, maybe next week or a week or two from now, once we're kind of like in the heart of the season, we can kind of go back and reflect on some of those games. But, yeah, I've got a list right here on my phone, and we will kind of take you through some of the bigger matchups. Some of the ones that maybe mean a little bit more to people around here. Big Ten matchups, more marquee games, and all of that. And with that, let's pull up and see where we're at. By the way, if anybody has any sort of input as to these games, as to the state of college football in general, please tweet me at Craig Marks 1. It's a capital C, a capital M-A-R-X 1 on Twitter, or all lowercase Craig Marks 85 at gmail.com. And I would love to reach out to you and love to give some people some recognition for following this podcast. And I believe the first episode really went over well, and I appreciate all of the support, not just in this podcast environment, but I appreciate all of the support in my new endeavor of sports writing in the Stevens Point area. So, without further ado, let's pull up the list here, and we'll kind of go through some of these college football games. And like I said, we're not going to go through every single one because they begin on December 17th with the Bahamas Bowl, Middle Tennessee and Toledo. I mean, some of these games are just a little bit not, I don't want to say above my head, but just, I mean, try to stick to the ones that actually have some sort of credence around here, some sort of viability. And with that, why don't we start off with December 23rd, the Gasparilla Bowl. Florida and Central Florida. Florida, what an interesting year. They started off very well. They were considered to maybe even be able to give Georgia a little bit of a challenge in the SEC East side of that conference, and they fell apart at the seams. Dan Mullen got fired a few weeks ago, replaced by Billy Napier of Louisiana Raging Cajuns. And just to kind of bring everybody else up to speed, the other thing that I just read a few minutes ago is University of Oregon Ducks head coach Mario Cristobal is heading down to the University of Miami, back to his roots, to take over the head coaching position there. I thought that was kind of an interesting move. I would have thought that Oregon, kind of like when I was alluding to Brian Kelly last week, I thought that would have been a very stable program to remain with. He's had very good success, even if in a watered-down Pac-12 conference. Just seems like going to Miami, that's another one of these programs that really is going to expect you to succeed right from the get-go. Very rich alumni basis, very rich booster basis. And I don't think that they really tolerate a lot of losing records, lack of success, lack of talent. They run coaches out of Dade County pretty quick. But anyway, back into the bowl season here. We are going to go up to Minnesota, West Virginia. Guaranteed Rate Bowl in Phoenix, December 28th, pardon me. I am not a PJ Fleck guy. I'm not a Golden Gophers guy by any stretch of the imagination, not because of rivalry week or close proximity or an intra-divisional opponent. I just think that PJ Fleck is another one of these self-encapsulating kind of coaches. I really don't think that he has a lot of timbre for his own players. A lot of he's really kind of using this probably as a stepping stone, just like he did Western Michigan to go to Minnesota. But do not quote me on these. These are kind of self-assumed observations that I've made over the last few years of watching him as head coach of University of Minnesota. But that could actually work its way out to be a very good game. We'll go onward. Virginia Tech and Maryland, the Pinstripe Bowl. Yankee Stadium, New York, December 29th. I think that Maryland actually has a darn good chance of winning that game. That's another one of these, as alluded to earlier, 6-6 matchups. See where it goes from there. Here is another one, December 29th, late game. I believe this is 9:15 p.m. Eastern Time, the Alamo Bowl in San Antonio. Oklahoma versus Oregon. It is not that typical to get a matchup of that caliber before the 31st, the 1st of January. That should be a pretty good game. Be very, very interesting now that both Lincoln Riley and Mario Cristobal have departed ways with those programs, to see how their interim coaches and more importantly, their players actually handle that kind of pressure of playing without the top man that recruited them. Both coaches seem like pretty personable, pretty player-oriented guys. It'll be interesting to see how the coaching staff and the players react going into a pretty solid marquee matchup for not being a technically New Year's 6 bowl game. After that, Purdue and Tennessee, that's on December 30th, Music City Bowl, Nashville. Probably have to go with Purdue on that. When Purdue is on, they are on. Their passing game can be extremely efficient. However, they always seem to lose to the bottom feeder programs of the Big Ten, but can stick right there with some of the top programs in the conference. See what Purdue we get. And then here we are, folks. December 30th, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 9:30 Central. The Las Vegas Bowl. Wisconsin 8-4, Arizona State 8-4. I think that's going to be a better game than what people think it's going to be in terms of competition. Quarterback Jaden Daniels from Arizona State, I think, is potentially going to be someone that could be in the Davey O'Brien Award finalists next year. If he really, really pulls it together, maybe even some loose Heisman talk. I think Herm Edwards has done a unexpectedly remarkable job for the Sun Devils since taking over a few years ago. And then, of course, on the Wisconsin side of the ball, you are going to have to see what kind of Graham Mertz you're going to get for the game. Whether or not Braylon Allen can bust a few loose and kind of corral that ASU defense into having to put more men in the box, but then that also in turn puts pressure on Graham Mertz and especially on Paul Chryst. It depends on what kind of play calling you're going to get. Make a prediction, and I'm going to say Wisconsin's going to win that game 28-21. Moving onward. Let's see what else we have as far. Okay, Penn State and Arkansas. Arkansas actually had a relatively good year. Finished 8-4. Penn State finished 7-5, but also have just given Coach Franklin huge extension. So at least they have some consistency in their program to look forward to. I think Penn State ends up winning that game just because there's a lot of pride behind that program. Like I said, Coach Franklin's the kind of guy that can get his players motivated, can want an end a season that started out with so much promise, especially after beating Wisconsin, that they kind of tapered off a little bit, and I think they will end up winning that game against Arkansas. That is the Outback Bowl in Tampa. 11 o'clock Central Time, January 1st. Iowa, Kentucky. Iowa's going to trounce them. Citrus Bowl. That's also January 1st, noon, ABC. Moving to your New Year's 6 bowl games. Michigan State and Pittsburgh. Mel Tucker, kind of like Franklin. A guy I think that has really turned a program around. A guy that really can rally his players to play to the best of their abilities. The Michigan State game this past year, despite Michigan just absolutely having an incredible resurgence at the end of the year, despite that loss. I think Mel Tucker is the kind of guy that will get his players motivated for that, and I see Michigan State winning that game 31-17. Notre Dame, Oklahoma State. That is the Fiesta Bowl, January 1st. Oklahoma State absolutely destroying Notre Dame. I'm going to go 42-24, Cowboys. Ohio State and Utah. Now that's an interesting game as well, because the last Utah game I watched is when the Utes were able to decimate the Oregon Ducks. But then the last Ohio State game that I watched was when the Buckeyes were absolutely destroyed by the Wolverines. I'm going to go, this is in the Rose Bowl, it's 4 o'clock Central Time, January 1st. I'm going to go Buckeyes. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game than what you would think. I think it's going to be 21-17, Ohio State. Sugar Bowl in one of my favorite cities in the entire country, New Orleans, Louisiana. This is 8:45 p.m. Eastern, 7:45 Central Time, January 1st. Baylor against Ole Miss. I'm very impressed with what Lane Kiffin's been able to do with Ole Miss. I didn't think he would have as much success as what he has had, but he's been able to turn it around. I thought he made some questionable decisions as far as his coaching staff, in particular DJ Durkin, but we'll leave that for another episode once again. Baylor, Dave Aranda, former Wisconsin defensive coordinator. He was a guy that I thought would have been up for the USC job. I believe he is a Southern California native. Don't quote me on that, but I thought I'd heard that somewhere. He's done a remarkable job with that program. He did a great job at LSU, and he also did a great job at Wisconsin before Jim Leonhard came in there. That'll be a really good game, and I actually do think, just because of the fan base, it's got to be almost equidistant from Waco as it would be from Oxford, I would think. But I think Ole Miss is going to win that game. 24-21 over the Baylor Bears. And then as we get into your college football playoff games, December 31st, the Cotton Bowl in Arlington. 2:30 p.m., Alabama and Cincinnati. I don't want to be a devil's advocate or a naysayer. Like I said in last week's episode, it'd be interesting to see a group of 5 team go in and play a top-ranked Power 5 conference team in a big-time setting with everything on the line. Nick Saban's just got way too much experience. Nothing against Luke Fickell. For being an Ohio State guy, he is somebody that I've always thought was a great coach. He really is a leader in that head coaching position. I believe he was the interim for a few months in between Jim Tressel and Urban Meyer, and then was on Urban Meyer's staff with the Buckeyes for a few years. Then accepted this head coaching position at Cincinnati, and he's ran with it. He's done a great job, and I think he's going to have a bright future, and I really think that he's going to move upwards to taking over a top-flight program. However, I am going to say Alabama 48, Cincinnati 17. December 31st, Orange Bowl in Miami. 6:30 p.m. Michigan and Georgia. I think this is going to be a heck of a football game. I really am kind of jumping on the Michigan train going into this bowl season and into these playoffs. I think if there's one team that can actually stick with Georgia in the country, Michigan's defense can shut down Georgia. It's just a matter of what kind of offense Jim Harbaugh is going to pull out. How is Cade McNamara going to play? How many touches are they going to give Hassan Haskins against that Georgia defense, which is tops in the country, but got exposed by Bama, especially in the second half. If Michigan can run the ball, kind of break down that Bulldogs defense, and can continue to pound the ball through over the course of the game, I see Michigan winning this game. And I see this being a very low-scoring game. I see this being Michigan winning 17-13. But that's going to do it for this episode. I just kind of wanted to give a little bit of perspective on a few of the more highlighted bowl games and to see what we're going to get as bowl season really kicks up here in the next couple of weeks. We'll go onward from there, and we'll dissect the games a little bit more, all of the games, and provide a little bit more insight and maybe get some feedback from you, the listeners, that are making this possible and have been nothing but supportive. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.